Whether you are watching us on Headline News, online, or on iTunes, thank you for checking out this Tuesday edition of CNN Student News. First up, tension between the U.S. and Syria over an attack in the Middle Eastern nation during the weekend. Syria's foreign minister says that the U.S. broke international law when American forces entered that country on Sunday. But an American official calls this a successful operation against a suspected terrorist accused of working with al-Qaeda. Syria threatens that if this happens again, it'll defend its territory. Jamie McIntyre has the latest details.
U.S. sources confirm Syria's claim American commandos in Black Hawk helicopters carried out the cross-border attack Sunday. A Syrian website posted this video showing U.S. helicopters over Syria, but CNN cannot confirm its authenticity. The Syrian government says it knows of the video but did not release it. However, the Syrian foreign minister says witnesses saw 4 U.S. helicopters arrive at a farm 5 miles inside Syria, that 2 landed, and American forces emerged and opened fire, killing at least 7 civilians.
They killed 4 of one family, the father and 3 children. They killed the guard of the farm and his wife. They killed also a fisherman who was fishing from the Euphrates River outside the farm.
But a U.S. official calls the attack a successful strike, telling CNN the target was a man who went by the nom de guerre of Abu Ghudayah. He was identified as an Iraqi national who is the leader of a smuggling network operating with impunity out of Syria, described as a facilitator for al-Qaeda in Iraq, running arms, money, and foreign fighters along so-called rat lines into Iraq. Syria denounced the attack as an act of serious aggression and summoned the U.S. representative in Damascus for answers.
She went in, she listened to the Syrians. They brought her in there to raise with her these reports of activities in Abu Kamal.
The representative didn't admit any U.S. involvement, nor has there been any official acknowledgement from Washington.
See if you can ID me. I'm an international organization that's part of the United Nations. I'm responsible for providing leadership on global health issues. My constitution was put into place on April 7th, 1948, which is now known as World Health Day. Who am I? I'm WHO, the World Health Organization.
As part of its role in global health matters, the WHO is weighing in on an issue involving this substance called melamine. You might remember reports from earlier this year about how this chemical was part of a major scandal involving food produced in China. Well, that safety scare has spread significantly. Tim Lister fills us in on the latest concerns being addressed in Hong Kong.
Now it's eggs. Over the weekend, officials in Hong Kong announced that nearly double the legal level of melamine had been found in eggs imported from northeast China. They believe the melamine, a chemical often used to make plastics, had been in contaminated feed given to chickens. Hong Kong authorities have now expanded checks to include farmed fish and pork imported from other parts of China. Nearly 4,000 children in China are still sick, and 4 babies have died because of milk and milk powder tainted with melamine. Authorities blame middlemen for adding the melamine to make the milk seem higher in protein when tested. Thousands of tons of milk powder have been destroyed in a very public effort to reassure consumers. And the Chinese leadership says it's looking at ways to improve food safety standards, including a new law.
Food is a continuous process that begins in the fields and ends on your dinner table. From production to transportation to refining to packaging to manufacture, every process needs to go through thorough and strict testing.
The World Health Organization has urged China to create a single agency with real power to enforce food safety, to replace a patchwork of disjointed regulation, and to hold companies more responsible for the food they produce. The recent scandals have hurt an industry that's vital to China's economy. Chinese food exports were worth nearly $27 billion in 2006, but the Philippines, Thailand and South Korea are among more than 20 countries that have banned some Chinese food imports after finding high levels of melamine and other chemicals. Tim Lister, CNN, Atlanta.
Shifting to presidential politics now, and our look at where the candidates stand on some of the issues. Today's topic, energy. Senator John McCain is opposed to a tax on big profits for oil companies, and he supports offshore oil drilling. If elected, he said that he'll promote alternative fuels such as wind, hydro, and solar power. By the year 2050, Senator McCain wants the country to reduce its carbon emissions to 60% below where they were in 1990. Now, Senator Barack Obama supports that tax on oil company profits. He was originally against offshore drilling, but now he says he's willing to consider it. If elected, Senator Obama will require that 10% of America's energy come from renewable sources by 2012. And as for carbon emissions, he wants to lower them by 80% by the year 2050. 1 week from today, voters will cast their ballots for those candidates. Teachers, can your students predict the outcome? We've got a learning activity that challenges them to predict the next president by researching this year's swing states. You can check it out at cnnstudentnews.com. Staying with politics here, a jury has found Alaska Senator Ted Stevens guilty of making false statements. The charges were related to hundreds of thousands of dollars in gifts and work on the senator's house. Stevens is the longest-serving Republican senator in history. He's the first senator to be convicted of a felony since 1981. He's still on the ballot, and Stevens says he'll fight what he calls the unjust verdict with every ounce of energy he has.
A word to the wise. Networking. Communicating with other people for mutual help or support.
A lot of people rely on networking when they're looking for a new job. Having that kind of advantage definitely can come in handy, especially when there are fewer jobs to go around like there are right now. You know the economy is struggling and companies are scaling down their workforce. For college students, that could mean a tough transition into the working world. Stephanie Elam examines the prospects.
For many in the class of 2009, the next step after graduating from college may be the unemployment line. With the country losing about 760,000 jobs so far this year and nursing economic wounds that are far from healed, it is no surprise that companies are cutting back. And if they aren't axing jobs, employers are slashing hiring plans. That's bad news for recent grads.
Young adults, in some ways, are the most financially disadvantaged folks in this country. When you think about graduating from college with an average $20,000 in student loans, a third of college students are graduating with more than $5,000 in credit card debt, and they're entering a job market that has a big question mark over it.
In a poll this month, the National Association of Colleges and Employers, or NACE, found companies plan to hire 1 1/3% more grads in 2009 than this year. While it is not a decrease, it is still a large drop from the group's projection of 6% made just in August. While the number of people who have lost their jobs this year continues to rise, so are the ranks of college graduates. That means lots of competition on the job hunt, and it's forcing graduates to get creative.
There are a lot of people out there who are fighting for the same job, so I'm expanding, I guess, my search a little bit.
Actually, I started my own company.
I'm interested in exploring like a variety of fields. There's a lot of opportunities globally.
I think pretty much everyone I know is using the Career Center a lot more than they imagined they would.
Networking is really all of it, isn't it?
The decline in hiring is broad, but the NACE survey found the U.S. government boosted its college hiring expectations this month by nearly 20%. Of course, recent grads do have one major thing on their side: time.
In this economy, even where everyone is struggling, young adults are almost at an advantage. They can make mistakes and they're going to be okay because they've got that whole lifeline until they retire.
Stephanie Elam, CNN, New York.
Before we go, check out a thrilling dance revolution. Okay, most of you probably have no idea what this is, but we bet your teachers do. These undead dancers are taking part in a worldwide Thriller celebration. The song was a sensation back in 1983, thanks in part to a music video that kind of looked like a horror movie. Now, thousands of dancers around the world get together to mimic the moves, which is pretty scary looking in itself and without too much rehearsal from the looks of it. That ghoulish groove is our final note for today. You guys have a great one.